boys and girls. So today you're going to be responsible for the independent practice for Lesson 8 RCC. Okay, so you're going to find this assignment that's linked on my checklist, and it's also Mrs. Delagrada's reading and writing page. So I'm going to read the story aloud to you in this video, or you could attend the meeting at 11 o'clock with Mrs. Delagrada and read it then, okay? So either way, but all we can do is read it to you, and then it's going to be up to you to answer the questions independently, okay? So I'm going to open up my RCC book. It's going to be on page 128. So you could follow along with me on the computer, or you could look on your own book. It's called King Lear by William Shakespeare, and it's adapted from a retelling in beautiful stories from Shakespeare. It says, King Lear was old and tired. He was aweary of the business of his kingdom. He wished only to end his days quietly near his 3 daughters. Lear called his 3 daughters together and told them that he proposed to divide the kingdom between them. So he was going to give his daughters his kingdom. But first, he said, I should like to know how much you love me. Gennaro, who was a really very wicked woman and did not love her father at all, said she loved him more than words could say. She loved him dearer than eyesight, space, or liberty, more than life, grace, health, beauty, and honor. I love you just as much as my sister and more, professed Regan. I care for nothing but my father's love. Lear was very much pleased, and he turned to his youngest daughter, Cordelia. Now our joy, though last, not least, he said. The best part of my kingdom have I kept for you. What can you say? Nothing, my lord, said Cordelia. Nothing can come of nothing. Speak again, said the king. And Cordelia answered, I love your majesty, according to my duty, no more, no less. This she said because she was disgusted with the way in which her sisters professed love, when they really had not even a sense of duty to their old father. So the daughter Cordelia knows that her sisters are lying to the father. And the reason they're lying is because they want the kingdom, right? I am your daughter, she went on. You have brought me up, and I have loved you, and loved me. I return you those duties back as right and fit, obey you, love you, and most honor you. Lear, who loved Cordelia best, had wished her to make more extravagant professions of love than her sisters. Go, he said, be forever a stranger to my heart. He divided the kingdom between Gennaro and Regan, and told them that he should only keep 100 knights at arms, and that he would live with his daughters by turns. The king now went to stay with this daughter Gennaro, who had given everything from her father that he had to give. So now began to grudge even the 100 knights that he had reserved for himself. She was harsh and undutiful to him. Her servants either refused to obey his orders or pretended they did not hear him. Gennaro, said Lear, I will not trouble you further, yet I have left another daughter. So he set out with his followers for the castle of Regan. So before he was living with Gennaro, now he's going to be moving on to Regan. But she, who had formerly outdone her sister in professions of attachment to the king, now seemed to outdo her in undutiful conduct. She said that 50 knights were too many to wait on him, and Gennaro said 5 were too many, since her servants could wait on him. Then when Lear saw what they really wanted was to drive him away, he left them. It was a wild and stormy night, and he wandered about the heath half mad with misery. So Gennaro and Regan really did not show very much love for their father. Even though they said they loved him a lot, then he gave them the kingdom, and now the daughters are not treating the father very nicely. And you want to be thinking about, why aren't they treating him nicely? Maybe they were lying about something. Here, Cordelia and her friends found poor King Lear wandering about the fields wearing a crown of nettles and weeds. She brought him back and fed and clothed him. Then Cordelia came to him and kissed him. "You must bear with me," said Lear. Forget and forgive. I am old and foolish." And now he knew at last which of his children it was that loved him the best, and who was worthy of his love. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and read you the questions here on the independent practice. So instead of doing the questions in your book, you're going to do them on Miss Delagrada's form here. I'm just going to read through them. Reread paragraph 11. Which statement about story events best shows the relationship between King Lear and Cordelia at this point? So you'd want to go back to paragraph 11, which is right here, and reread over that. Is this saying that King Lear began to believe that Cordelia had outdone her sisters in undutiful conduct? That King Lear saw that each of his daughters really had wanted to drive him away all along? That King Lear sent Cordelia away because she did not give him a strong enough expression of her love? Or that King Lear knew at last that each of his daughters had never really loved him the way she had claimed? Okay, choose two statements that best describe the setting of the story. The setting is where it takes place. Lear's castle is too small for his daughters to live there. Regan's castle is surrounded by fields of nettles and weeds. The story takes place on a windy winter night. It is a time when kings rule and knights serve them. The castles are chilly places without much light. Lear's kingdom is large, wealthy, and beautiful. Gennaro's castle is bigger and fancier than Regan's. Read the sentence from paragraph 17 in the passage. "You must bear with me," said Lear. "Forget and forgive. I am an old and foolish man." Which dictionary definition defines the word bear as it's used in the sentence? So when it says, "You must bear with me," does that mean stand up to, get over, put up with, or provide for? This question has two parts. First answer part A, then part B. Part A says, which statement best describes why King Lear's feelings about Gennaro start to change? She was a stranger to his heart. She began to be mean and disrespectful. She allowed fewer than 50 of her knights to serve him. Or she sent him outside alone to wander the heath. Part B. Pick two sentences from paragraph 12 that best support your answer in part A. The king now went to stay with his daughter Gennaro, who had got everything from her father that he had to give. She now began to grudge even the 100 knights that he had reserved for himself. She was harsh and undutiful to him. Her servants either refused to obey his orders or pretended they did not hear him. Which two sentences from paragraphs 15 and 16 best explain why King Lear's feelings toward his daughters changed at the end of the story? Write the sentences below. And lastly, what conclusions can be drawn about King Lear's experiences with his three daughters? What lesson did he learn? Use details about the events from the story to support your response. Okay? So in this paragraph, you're going to be talking about what the king learned by his interactions with his daughters. Okay? All right, boys and girls, so you're going to try your best to get this done. Just give it your all, okay? And that's all you can do. Bye.